Hi, I'm Katie Lehman with the Rose marketing team, and I'm here to talk to Ron Hawkins after your live from the Rose performance. It was awesome.
Thank you.
I'm sure it's translating exactly as it should at home, but it's so wonderful to hear live music happening and the banter. I know that we're sitting in our masks in the darkness, laughing and silently applauding. So I enjoyed that you brought your own machine. Yeah. So you've been doing Tommy Douglas Tuesdays. So you're very aware of how to interact with the lack of audience. Is this any different for you?
I have to say, it's a little different. I mean, the difference with the live Facebook stream, I guess, is the chat. I try not to look at it too much because if I'm playing and I'm looking, I'm getting thrown off and forgetting lyrics. But yeah, it's a little different. It's a little somewhere in between. I've now done a drive-in show, a theater show, and home live stream shows, which is, as you know, I've incorporated the sound effects machine, and I've got cardboard signs and stuff. So
you've hit like the trifecta of the COVID performances.
Yeah, I know. What else could I do? What else? Well, I'm sure as it goes on, we'll probably create a few more styles. But
I'm hoping that it'll be like done sooner rather than later. But the way things are going, I think you're going to have a lot of time to get creative.
Yeah.
Which is a perfect segue into a question. So a lot of people right now, myself included, are feeling the challenges of the COVID pandemic.
Yes.
What do you think are actually like the greatest opportunities that are coming out of this for yourself or musicians in general or the arts?
Well, I mean, I think the first thing that hit when I started doing my live streams is how much people, I guess it's like you don't know what you've got till it's gone, and how suddenly people had their hearts ripped out and their hearts were on the outside of their chest. They're like, live music, live theater, live, live. Like, what about community? What about all these things that we had that we were like, oh, I'll stay home and watch Netflix. Now that we don't do them regularly, we're sort of aching to do it. So I think I noticed an instant sort of respect rising, as my friend says, to all the art forms and people who are part of the gig economy and stuff like that.
I think that's an awesome answer. I hope that respect is rising and that people are finding the hunger again.
Yeah. And for me, I mean, also, I maybe not everybody has had this. I know people are living very different lives through the pandemic because some people are in, bad relationships. Some people are in dangerous relationships and they're stuck at home with their partners. Some people are in, wonderfully cozy situations. I had a situation where we got a friend of ours gave us a strap-on ping pong net. It's on our dining room table. So for the first little bit of COVID, we were having these ping pong tourneys, and myself, my partner, and my daughter were all at home and kind of, feeling that out. And it was all, it was very cozy. It was very in our jammies. It was very, but as that goes on, you start to go, okay, but also, there's the external world, there's the community, right? So, yeah, so I think everybody's juggling that. And of course, everybody has very different, I'm learning that my life didn't change that much. I'm still mixing records in my basement. I'm still painting in the back studio. It's like, COVID, what? There's a pandemic? So, but I recognize that a lot of people, it affects them in much deeper ways emotionally and a lot of anxiety and stuff like that. So it's really, I think it's just testing everybody in different ways. But
do you find that this has been a period of more creativity or less creativity or just like neutral? Mm-hmm.
No, yeah, weirdly. Like I feel like I've been pretty prolific anyway, but it's been very prolific. Like we released, my band, the Do-Good Assassins, and myself released a record that we had finished before the COVID, and we actually decided, hey, maybe this is an experiment. Like, what happens when you release a record in a pandemic when there's no physical copies because we couldn't get them made and we can't do live shows? Does it just go off a cliff, or is everybody a lot more laser focused so they'll be on it? And so
how is the experiment going?
We're still
released in August, right?
We're still doing the test tube. We're still checking out the matrix and the metrics and the But
so far, your gut is
that it was great. The fan base, it was great for the focus. It's not great for selling records.
Yes, everyone's getting a little tired of the streams, I guess.
Streams. I mean, because obviously it's on Bandcamp and it's off my site and stuff like that. But I think there's an awful lot of people who aren't aware that Spotify, like a lot of the streaming places, don't actually pay you, or they pay you in such infinitesimal ways that I saw a great headline in The Onion last week that was like Spotify celebrating their $100th, given to artists. So it's kind of like that. But I'm also painting. I just started a bunch of paintings yesterday, large scale, like 4 feet by 4 feet abstractions. I have this series that I'm going to work on. I figured it will get me through the winter maybe.
That's a good segue. So I was about to ask how you find, because you have such a prolific career, and it's not just music, both as a solo artist and as a band with multiple different bands at various times. You're also a painter, you're also a producer. So when inspiration does strike, do you find that it kind of hits one area at a time or kind of hits a variety of areas? How do you kind of sort out where different inspirations are going to land?
No, I know that I'm not, like whatever is happening, I'm not doing it consciously. Like they're not choices usually. Usually like if I'm writing. And so, like every now and then a song will jump out and I'll go, well, that's definitely a Lowest to the Low song, or that's definitely a Do Good Assassin song. But more likely I'm just writing and things sort of sift where they go. But with the painting thing, it was like this abstractions thing came. Usually I do a lot of portrait work, and I've been sort of obsessed with people and portraits, which I thought was very sort of hardwired with the way I write lyrics for a long time. So I figured, oh, well, that's what I do. But then some weird subconscious bubblings were happening about abstraction and working in a more abstract way, less figurative way. I went down that rabbit hole and I've become kind of obsessed about it. And it just, as I'm saying, like the not conscious doesn't mean that subconsciously my brain wasn't going, there's going to be a lot of shut-in hours where you can't play live shows. Maybe you should paint, So I don't know if it's just an unconscious thing, but yeah, that's what's happened now. Is like, coincidentally, I'm in a good spot to hunker down.
Do you feel like there's naturally a shift because you just finished getting the album out and you just like had the big push for that, and now it's like a little alone time, and then
it could be that too, because there's a great feeling of, there's a combination. There's a great feeling of accomplishment and celebration, but there's also a little bit of the morning after Christmas when you release something. Probably like when shows go down here too, like you've had a big run and you're in the middle of it, you feel like it's never gonna die, and then when it's done, you're sort of left going, okay.
It's such a
Thursday.
heartbreak.
What do we do now? You sort of have that sort of like letdown. So I think that maybe this is, but yeah, like to answer your first question, basically I feel like as energetic as I did when I was 16 and starting this, which is sort of kind of unbelievable to me, but.
Congratulations. That's awesome.
Yeah. So I'm trying not to poke it too much or think about it or answer too many questions about it.
I did ambush you immediately after you finished playing. Speaking of 16 and starting out, as a producer, because we work with aspiring musicians and people starting out their careers,
right.
What would you say is like the most common mistake that you see young musicians making when they're approaching producers or when they're looking with who they should partner with on that creative aspect of their work? Like what are the pitfalls and like what's the better way of doing it?
Well, a big pitfall. I made a record last year with somebody named Madison Galloway, and she's very young. I think she was 18 when we decided to make the record together, and she approached me to produce it. And I said, look, here's what I do, is I will, let's have a meeting and talk about what you want to achieve. And I try not to put my imprint on things. I just try to help people get the best version of what it is that they're trying to do. And that's one way of producing. Then there's other people who, like Phil Spector, doesn't care what you're trying to do. He wants to slam his, like there's people like that too who are producers with a capital P, and you do it my way. And because it was her very first record and she was quite new to it, I could have probably grabbed the reins more, but I just said to her, look, we'll talk about it, and if I don't feel like it's a good match, or if you don't feel like it's a good match, I'll help you find somebody that is a good match, because I know millions of people, and I think that's what I bring to it as a producer, having been a musician first for a long, long time, is I know I don't want, at the end of it, I want you to love this. I want you to be 85 years old and remember making that record in a positive way, because I've had amazing experiences, and I've had a couple of really shitty experiences that have made me not able to even listen to those records because the experience was so bad with the producer, So I don't ever want to be that person. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I think it's just, your job is to sort of get that person to see what's great about them and heighten that, like turn up those volumes and turn up the rock, turn down the suck, as they say.
And so from 16 to now, you've had so many accomplishments. You've had amazing success as like Songwriter of the Year, Lifetime Achievement Award, Canadian Indie Rock Hall of Fame. 17 albums later. Is that including the summer one, or is that 18?
I think it's 18 with the summer one, yeah.
Congratulations, lucky 18.
Thank you. And there's a double album in there, and I don't know if you count that as 2 or 1. But
19, a good prime number. Throughout all those moments, what would you say is kind of like some of the ones that stand out to you as like your most proud moment? It can be an award, a moment, a lyric, that time that this thing happened. But like when you look back at that spectrum, like what are some of the ones that really stand out for you?
Well, I mean, Mostly not the awards, because the weird thing about awards is like getting that Lifetime Achievement Award. I think I was still in my 30s or maybe 42 or something when I got it. And it was sort of like, am I done? Oh, I guess I'm done, right? I guess somebody's telling me I'm done. And then the joke about getting the Songwriter of the Year, Now Magazine Readers Poll Songwriter of the Year, people would be going, "Oh my God, that's amazing." And I go, "Yeah, but like Pizza got best pizza, so does that make me the pizza of songwriting?" So I guess I have I think a healthy skepticism of awards and what they mean. But most of my favorite moments are really about the relationships I built in bands, and some of them that we consecutively tore apart as well. But just like, it's more like little moments that are almost even not musical moments, but sort of people moments on the road and stuff like that. And the kinds of, again, there's a very close tie into theater, which is that when a lot of people who haven't been in those worlds, maybe comedy is the same way, comedy and theater and rock and roll, is that you become a little gang of people. And when you're touring and stuff like that, you're in a little van and you're sort of outside of time and space. You've got one job to do every night, and that's at 5 o'clock sound check and then whatever o'clock show. So you're just traveling around with generally your best pals and outside of time and space. And so that means you can get into a lot of trouble, but also you can create these incredible moments, So I think it's probably that, just the people that I've met and the things I try to stay humble about and try to realize that as much as I have learned. And I think I have learned a lot of things. I'm turning 56 in a couple of weeks, so that's 40 years of doing this. If I haven't learned some things, then I should get the hell out of it, return my Lifetime Achievement Award. But I think that's what it's about, is just continuing to be open to ideas and try to continue learning as you're going.
Happy almost birthday.
Thank you.
As the grand finale of my questions, I'm always wondering, because you've done so many interviews in 4 decades of music making and artistry, is there a question that you always secretly hope that somebody would ask you that you really just want to answer for the wide public, but nobody ever asks that question?
Well, I'll make a joke and say, "Are you really Jodie Foster's brother?" Because I have this thing that I do online. I have all these pictures of myself when I'm a kid, and I look exactly like Jodie Foster looked in Escape from Witch Mountain. So when she was a young kid and I was a young kid, we looked identical, and we're about the same age, I think. So I had been floating this idea around that we were twins, or that we were. So you could ask me if I'm actually Jodie Foster's brother.
Are you actually Jodie Foster's brother?
Yes.
No way.
So that I could lie and say that I am. Yeah. No, I can't think of one off the top of my head. I know the question I don't like is some people have asked me, "Where do you get your ideas from?" Which leaves me with not a lot to say. But no, I can't think of one off the top. You'd have stymied me.
I like the Jodie Foster answer. I think that was a good, solid finish. Thank you so much for coming. We packed the house for you, but we actually did sell out online and had to release some more tickets. Everyone was so excited.
That's awesome.
Thank you so much for coming and bringing your own electronic audience. Ours will be very happy to greet you online later, I'm sure, in comments and emails. Thank you so much for tuning in. We really appreciate you guys coming live from the Rose with us tonight, and we hope that you have an amazing evening.